Hey guys, and welcome to the Inspired Cupcake. So this is a part one of a two-part series in menstrual cycle, or rather PMS. So the focus is on curing PMS, but this first video I just want to briefly explain what happens in the actual cycle. This is going to help us understand some of the tips or some of the do's and don'ts during and before and after your cycle. So let's get right into it. If you know what happens in the cycle, you understand the hormones and everything, please go ahead and click on the link in the description to go to video number 2, part 2, which is the most important. Right. So I just want to be quick about this one. And the first phase of your cycle is called the follicular phase. It starts on day 1, which is when you actually get your period. So that's called that's when your period starts. That's when the cycle begins. So what happens in your body is that there is a hormone called estrogen that gets created on that very day, like during the first day. It gets created, and what it's responsible for during the first phase, it's to create a thick lining of blood and fluids in your uterus, and this is basically creating kind of like a cushion where it's creating a nice warm space for the baby to grow, right? So that's the first phase of your cycle. Estrogen is dominant during that first phase, and progesterone is there, but in small amounts. So these are the two most important hormones, sex hormones or reproductive hormones in the human body, both male and female. So estrogen is predominant in the follicular phase. Then we get to mid-cycle. Mid-cycle, what happens is this is when ovulation happens. So this is around day 14. So the egg gets released and it's going to travel through the tubes, and as it's traveling, if it does not get fertilized by a sperm, we're not there yet. So that's what happens in the ovulation phase. The egg just gets released and then it starts traveling, and it's going to the uterus, and it's hoping that there will be a sperm to fertilize so that it can be a baby, right? If this does not happen, so now we get to the second phase. In the second phase of the cycle, after the egg has been released. Now, after the egg has been released, the most important thing that happens is that progesterone now, which is the other hormone, progesterone gets produced now in high levels by the body. So what it's basically doing now, it's progesterone gets released in order to help maintain that lining. It still helps create. So the estrogen in the first phase basically created that thick lining of blood and fluids, and then the progesterone helps to maintain it during the second phase. So if the egg does not get fertilized, the progesterone levels will drop, and as they drop, because there's nothing now maintaining that lining, then there's going to be that thick lining of blood is going to shed, and then that's when you actually get your period. That's now the end of your cycle, and then start the process all over again. So the two most important things that I want you guys to note, 3, 4 most important things that I want you guys to note is, number 1, estrogen is supposed to be dominant in the first phase, and number 2, progesterone in the second phase. So both hormones are there during both phases, but in the first phase it's estrogen, and in the second phase it's progesterone. It's important for you guys to know that. So this is basically I think I've covered everything. So this is going to help you understand why I give some of the tips that I give in order to cure your PMS in part 2, which is the video that I actually wanted to make. This is just the default. That's why it's so all over the place. Yeah, but if you can get someone else better who can explain it for you, please go ahead and watch that video. You don't even have to watch this one. Okay, that's Inspired Cupcake signing out. Check you in part 2, which is the video that I want you to watch. Part 2. Please watch part 2. Adios.